Okay, I've got Stephen Magee again. This time, Magee is in Mississippi, and we're going to do part two of this recording remotely. So, basically, summarize the first episode. We talked about a little bit about your upbringing, where you grew up, a little bit. Touched upon your early years in the army. Um, Toured Bosnia, Kosovo, and your first tour to Iraq, which was 2003 during the invasion with 3rd Infantry Division. Um, so we went through the war. So let's kind of just pick up where we left off. And I know today we're probably going to get into some heavier stuff. Um, so let's just see where it goes, brother. So how you been? How you been the last week?
Uh, like I said, back at work, just waiting for Labor Day to get here so I can get Ashland home. Just trudging along at work.
So you're going to be back up here again at the end of the month?
Yeah, well, I think I'm meeting the ex halfway this time,
Oh, okay.
but I
Okay.
think about the middle of the month I'll be heading back that way for take Ashland to some of her doctor appointments.
Okay. Well, you know the
So,
deal, man. Whenever you're up here, man, you're welcome to stay here. So
uh, as I say, it's amazing being able to catch up with you, brother. But um, like I said, if people haven't liked, subscribed, whatever you do on this to your podcast, they should go ahead and do it because I've listened to your first 10 episodes. Kind of told you I'm not going to listen to number 11 or 11 Bravo, however you want to call it.
11 Alpha. This is 11
Yeah.
Bravo.
I haven't listened to 11 Alpha and I won't listen to Bravo.
You need to. It's a good one.
But, it's I've been able to pull something from everyone, which is really cool. And I think Joey hit some really good stuff with the PTSD and the lack of culture or loss of culture
I agree.
contributing to it.
Speaking of
Um,
Joey, this is one of his shirts he sent me. He sent me 5 shirts. I paid him, but he sent me this one, one with a big tank on it. It says "Yeah, man" on the gun tube, and then he sent me maybe four shirts for my daughter, like tie dyes. They
oh
say
man.
easy. Oh my God, he squared me away. And these are nice shirts too. So look
Well,
Joey up.
here's the other one. Like, hey, if you want to support Joey Garcia, is apparel.com.
Yeah,
Freaking great
for
dude, great products.
yeah, for sure. I thank you for mentioning liking and subscribing too, because ever since I put this on YouTube, it is kind of, I would say, blown up, but I'm getting a lot more hits and it's getting a lot more distribution. It does seem like your boss, he runs a podcast, and you put me in contact with him, and he told me, he's like, if you're just sticking straight to audio, you're just not going to get as many listeners as you'd like to reach out to.
Yeah.
And he encouraged me to do YouTube. So ever since I've done that, um, I mean, I'll just give you an example. Um, so Joey's audio, people that tuned in from Spotify or Apple Radio or whatever, that amounted to probably 50 or 60 downloads. But on YouTube, he's got almost 160 views.
Yeah.
So, I mean, almost triple the amount of people that it touches when it goes out on video, which is awesome. But, hey,
Well, the goal is
just
to get you like Seth and the Unauthorized History of the Pacific War podcast. He's getting 250,000 views every episode. Let's get you there.
dude, I was happy. I was happy with 2 freaking monthly subscribers. I was totally cool with that. I was totally fine with that. But hey, people are listening. I'm happy with that. But let's talk about you, brother. So let's going back, getting out of Iraq. Um, I know we're gonna talk about PTSD today, um, but did you notice anything after Iraq at that point that things were different? Did you feel like things had changed in your own thinking? Or did you hit the ground and just keep plugging away as a soldier again?
Well, you know, third ID, you're on the Martin Express, brother. You don't have time to think.
Yeah.
And I remember as soon as we got back, I had orders for Knox, and I called Birdsong, was our branch manager at the time, and I was literally begging him to delete my orders. And he remembered me from, like I said, giving tanks to Master Gunner Branch when he was an instructor. And, you know, he was just kind of egging me on, like, I can't do it, Sarge, I can't do it. And, you know, I'm starting to get frustrated. He's like, man, I'm just fucking with you. I deleted your shit 5 minutes ago.
Oh, are you serious? He was cool. I
Yeah.
liked him.
Oh, yeah.
He
But,
was awesome.
it's, we got back, we knew we were going again in a year. So,
Okay.
and you know how it is, you want to stay with the boys.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But, it was kind of a weird shakeup coming back. Um, we started doing that HBCT restructure.
Okay.
So we went from being Bravo Company 269 Armor to Charlie Company 115 Infantry. Then we stood up a Delta Company, and I got moved over to Delta after I got back from Master Gunner School, and I was helping stand up Delta Company, and I was also the company and battalion tank Master Gunner. We had Bradley Master Gunner who was in that position, but they're like, okay, we need kind of the tank guy that understands tank.
Okay. So you were wearing multiple hats: company
Yeah.
level master gunner, battalion level master gunner, and you're training up for your second deployment to Iraq. So you are busy, and you just went to master gunner school.
Yeah.
That's a
And,
lot.
well, and like I said, you're trying to cram all this in a little over a year and 4 months. And, but like Delta Company, we had pulled some of the guys from 269 and the companies that were shutting down, and from Charlie Company. Then we're getting all the new guys coming in. And it was a really young company, but we had some misfits, but we also had some great leadership and great tank commanders. First Sergeant Corbett came out of our brigade reconnaissance troop. Amazing guy. Captain Southern was my CO. Crazy story here. And this is, as well as I do, when you get a company commander's trust or a commander's trust, it's amazing.
Hmm.
Um, so Clint Weiss was my second platoon sergeant
Okay.
at the time. And Clint. So,
Yeah.
um, but there have been a few things that CO decided to go against his Mike Golf's recommendations and didn't pan out. But I remember him asking me if we should pull down this other staff sergeant from battalion, and I'm like, nah, it's been stationed with this other dude before. He's going to come down. He's going to pull a power play and try to get Weiss's platoon. He's like, nah, he's assured me he's not in all this. But like, dude got to the company, and 2 weeks later, pulled a power play by going to the sergeant major and bumped Weiss out of the platoon sergeant slot.
Was Weiss was just a staff sergeant at the time, right?
Yeah. And I remember I was trying to get my UCOP schedule approved, and I was walking out back for him to sign it. He's like pissed off. One of the few times I see him pissed off. He's like, God damn it, you were right. He's
Yeah.
like, from now on, you tell me the sky is purple, it's freaking purple. I don't care how blue it is. He's like,
Good.
and he's going off about he did exactly what you said he was going to do, and this and that. And
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
Captain, now Colonel retired Southern, amazing guy.
I feel like I know his name. I've heard his name somewhere. Maybe I've heard you talk about him or something. His
I
name
don't know,
sounds
like
familiar.
phenomenal leader. But like I said, a lot of great people in that company, and we did our train up. Ended up going back for IF3, and year long deployment. And, we kind of mentioned the PTSD stuff earlier, but I don't talk about the bad times. You know, we had talked about this before about, you know, that's kind of what throws you in that downward spirals when you remember the good old times that were really the bad old times.
Yeah.
Try to focus on the good stuff. And like I said, those amazing leaders and soldiers and peers that I had. And kind of what Joey said too, one thing that I've kind of noticed with a lot of this, it's not just a loss of culture, but sometimes our culture hides those bad parts of the PTSD.
You mean like, from what I'm understanding, is if you are around your own people, guys like us, or we're all kind of together, that like the bad stuff doesn't seem as bad. Is that what you're saying, or
Well,
would it?
no, it's more like, you know, I was an angry guy.
Yeah, you were.
And, but, that's the thing is when you realize that PTSD is a fight or flight, everyone seems to focus on that flight portion of it.
Hmm.
Some of us get locked in the fight.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're an argumentative and angry son of a in the army, it's okay, that's a strong leader.
Yeah.
So it
I
kind of masks it.
I know exactly what you mean. I've actually shared that in 12-step group meetings that I think I was able to thrive in the military because I was bitter and pissed off all the time. And those attributes, when you're a platoon sergeant or a tank commander, those are positive attributes to your leadership. They're like, yeah, he's like a disciplinarian. He really gets shit done. He keeps his men in line. But
Yeah,
really, what's really going on is you're just fucking angry. You're just
yeah,
mad. You're just mad all the time.
because you're locked in that fight mode, and
Y-
you don't care who you're fighting. It's just like, but once again, when you're in that your own culture, there, you're able to focus that fight on doing the right thing for either you or your people.
Yes. Yeah, that's
So
true.
it's kind of a positive thing.
It is. It can be spun into a positive, and it does mask what's going on. Um, did you at one point after Afghanistan? I went and saw a military shrink, and I had put this off forever, but I went and seen him because I felt emotionless. Like I had no emotions whatsoever other than anger. And it was
Yeah,
starting to bug me. I'm like, what's going on here? I used to be a pretty positive, outgoing, kind of optimistic dude. And now I'm just hate the world. If you're not in my platoon, you're the enemy. And that's just how I acted. And spent a little bit of time with him. Didn't really tell him everything. I didn't tell him how much I was drinking or anything like that. And I don't remember what the outcome of that was. But did you ever seek any kind of help during this period or later in the
well,
military?
it is actually kind of like you said. You came to see me after I was here at Shelby, and just after that, Mike Cooley, guy we both know, amazing dude.
Hmm.
I think I told you I'd just gotten a yelling match with my sergeant major about some stuff, and I was going out to have a cigarette to cool off, and Mike came out and just had heart to heart with me, and he's like, "Dude, you need to go talk to somebody," and I did, and it is a local psychiatrist, and it was more for the anger issues, and that's where all the PTSD stuff came up, and it was going great till TRICARE is like, well, you've hit your 16 therapy means you can have for the year cut off. They're like,
Really?
you can go to a military treatment facility. I'm like, well, the nearest one of those is 2 hours away. So what the hell?
Mm. Well, that's shitty. I mean, obviously, I'm sure that changed once you retired and use the VA instead of TRICARE.
Yeah. Well, that was its own interesting journey.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You did tell me that story about Mike Cooley pulling you aside and saying, "Hey, man," and if I remember correctly, you told me that Mike had said that he was behaving the same way and sought help himself and
Yeah.
felt a lot better after he had gotten that help.
Yeah. But like I said, Mike, great dude.
Yeah, definitely.
And he, I, he's just a phenomenal person, both as a soldier, leader, and just all around good dude. Um,
He is.
and
He really is.
hey, Mike, if you hear this, brother, I love you. Thanks, man.
Yeah, Mike, if you're listening, reach out to me, dude. I'd like to get you on here too. Yeah, him and I became fast friends. I only I was only with him in person for a couple of months for the senior leaders course, but yeah, him and I hit it off immediately. Yeah, real good dude. I would say the takeaway, if anybody who listens to this is still active duty, if you're feeling like what we're describing, just pissed off all the time, you can find help, get help, because that's not normal. And you don't have to be an asshole 24/7 while you're in the military to succeed. You really don't, and just quality of life is so much better when you're not fueled by anger and rage. That used to be my motto. It's like anger is my motivation. That's
Well,
what gets me out of bed in the morning is who can I light up, you know?
well, you got to remember, Afghanistan, our thing was all you need is water and hate, and everything else is just a luxury.
Water and hate. Yeah. Well, I survived off vodka and hate, but whatever. Same thing.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's talk about OIF 3. So you redeploy. Um, Sergeant Weiss got bumped out of the platoon sergeant position. You've got a new
Yeah.
platoon daddy. You guys went to Baghdad this time, is that right? Again, I
No,
mean.
we were in Adwar, Saddam's hometown.
Oh,
Like,
north.
yeah, like we're across the river from Tikrit, and like that spider hole where he was found,
Yes.
literally 2,200 meters from our northern wall.
No kidding. Hmm.
And, it was Fob Wilson, which in nowadays terms would have been more considered a cop. That's how tiny it was. It was our battalion TAC, my company, Baker Company, and we had a platoon or two from Lightning Troop 278 Cav that was our FOB security,
Okay.
and that was it.
Okay. So are you running missions on Humvees or tanks?
Um, my job was to train the IA
Iraqi army?
and IP, yeah, and Iraqi police. But our platoons would we did a weird rotation. You had a week of tank patrol, week of Humvee patrol, week of maintenance slash train Iraqis. And
Okay.
that was the rotation that went on.
Okay.
And, I would be the guy that would, okay, if they're taking IA out or IP or whatever, I just kind of tag along on a mission, and then sometimes I'd be able to tag along with our Baker Company guys when they take the Iraqis out, and our infantry guys basically. And that was kind of how that year was going. But it was totally different ball game than the invasion.
In
Yeah,
what ways?
a lot more restrictive. And of course, IEDs are now a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, those wonderful little things.
Hmm.
And our mission is focusing on getting Iraqi army where they can do stuff on their own and everything else, which also got to work with a couple of ODA teams doing all this. Um, some great ones, some just hot garbage ones, but uh, you know, it's crazy
Did
year.
any Is there anything that really stands out from that tour? Any missions that were good, bad, ugly?
Well, it was we got into Fob Wilson in late January of '05,
Okay.
and we're relieving Quarter Cav.
Okay.
And but I want to say it was early March is when my company took its first big hit.
Was that an
Um,
IED?
oh yeah, it's I want to say it was our 1-3 tank. I'm not going to talk about that tank commander because he ended up getting sent back to go to jail. Um, but they got hit, and we don't have Tusk at this time. We have Tusk hasn't been developed. The
And
tank
Tusk
early
is,
survival kit.
yep. Okay.
Um, but the IED messed or hit the tank so hard it sheared every bolt in the driver's station, and Pope, the driver, got shredded.
Really?
And he alive, out there today, still doing great things.
Is that the Pope I know?
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Um, he got out of the army after this, man. He was, when we got back from Iraq, he was still walking with a cane and stuff.
Okay. So he was medevaced out of country and,
Yeah, but
oh,
that was just a shitty day because they had it perfect. Like the medevac was coming in to get Pope. They pop a secondary trying to get the Blackhawk. It waves off, finally lands, get Pope loaded. Um, we had just got a new Air or Navy EOD team, and they went out. They got vaporized.
oh my,
They actually were staying on top of an IED and just got vaporized. And our Air Force EOD that was getting relieved actually had to stay a couple weeks longer.
right.
And like I said, it's just a bad situation all around. And um, the other two crew off that tank, Resendez and damn, I just forgot the other kid's name. But they were kind of messed up bad enough, like psychologically, where it was okay, you're going to work in the TAC now, and we came up with a new crew for that tank. And like I
Jesus.
said, the tank commander ended up having to
Some
be sent
legal
back to the
issues.
U.S. Oh yeah,
Huh. Those, so you're in the first, well, during the invasion, the first year, you're getting into direct engagements and, you're seeing bad guys. And now you're in a warfare and a type of warfare where it's more irregular, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric,
yeah.
um, and IEDs. And I know I was in Iraq at the exact same time as you were at this point. You're up north. I'm in southern Baghdad at the same time, and the IEDs were in freaking sane. It's do you know? And it's a such a I don't even know how to explain it. It just fills you with rage that you're getting hit all the time and you're not getting any payback
Yeah.
because you're not seeing the guys that are setting these IEDs off, whether they're pressure plates or command detonated or remote detonated or whatever it is. You're not seeing them because they're the dead one or the dumb ones are already dead.
Oh
The
yeah.
ones that are the ones that are fighting us in 2005, 2006, those are they put some time in and they're a little smarter, a little wiser, and they're not trying to die. They're trying to kill us. And they're getting really good at it. Do you know it, what explosives were used on on that 1-3 tank?
It was a quad stack or five stack 152.
Okay, so 5 artillery rounds
Yep.
linked together. Okay. Yeah, they do that to us. They also use triple stack AT mines.
Oh yeah.
Um, we we had a lot of mobility kills on tanks. Um, there was one particular. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because you're talking about a loss on a tank and a driver specifically. There was I was on a spot one night and I was like, I do not like this. This is like a prime area. If I was to put in an IED and try to take out a tank, this is where I'd do it. And a week later, a tank section is in that same spot, and the lead tank that gets detonated on IED, and the explosion was so powerful that it killed the driver in the tank behind him,
Oh
and
damn.
and that tank was about 50 meters behind him. It was that big of an explosion. Then it did the same thing. It sheared all the bolts off inside the driver's hole, and all the white boxes, the electronics, just took him out.
Yeah.
And plus, all 4 guys on the tank that was the target, they were all killed as well. It was catastrophic. It was
Yeah.
a big one. So yeah, they were no joke. Those IEDs were no freaking joke.
Yeah. But the other one is a couple weeks later, we lost a platoon leader from Baker Company, and this one hits me hard. And you know, I've worn this bracelet for 20 years now. It's Lieutenant Fosnot. Um, I remember him and my fire support officer were great friends, and he was kind of my fire support officer was my platoon leader, Lieutenant Lorenzen. Great dude, amazing cat. But I remember we had been in our little chow hall eating crappy food off of T-Rat trays, and
Yeah,
we're debating. It's like he thought the Iraqis would never be able to stand on their own and everything else. I'm like, yeah, we're making progress, but it's not overnight. And
right.
the debate we're having, he's like, hey, I've got SP. We'll finish this debate when I get back. He's going to come down to our Joint Operations Center where me and the LT were working and finish it. But, we hear explosion about 20 minutes later, and it's like, he's gone. He had been on a patrol. They put a faker out. Um, he was in the Bradley, started backing up, and they had one up on the telephone pole and detonated
Oh
it,
man,
took the guy's head off.
good God. Yeah, the we used to like to hide out in the palm groves because the palm groves would give you some shade.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a perfect spot to put a tree-borne IED, to take us out when we're coming in there and pulling in to get shade. And it's like you had to everything was dangerous there. Everything was a potential spot to hide an IED.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, that poor
But,
guy, man.
that's another one is part of our weekly missions were, okay, you're doing route clearance. And it wasn't like the route clearance like we had in
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. This is okay, you're going to just haul ass down the road till you get blown up.
Yes.
That was route clearance.
Yep. That was frustrating, dude. That was exactly what our mission set was too. Drive up and down this road as fast as you can, and hopefully you're going faster than the IED can blow up, which is
Yeah.
impossible.
Or hopefully the guy can't time stuff right. And
Yeah.
that's like every time I've been hit, it's been there where it's like right at the front of the Humvee or tank or right there on the backside. And, it's never been
Yeah.
that perfect hit. So,
Yeah. So I
um,
guess in some ways it was effective. I always got lucky. It was always the vehicle in front of me or the vehicle behind me. It was I always
yeah.
got. I mean, I'd catch some dirt clods and stuff from an explosion that happened in front of me, but it was good Lord, man.
Yeah. But, like I said, we, lost some good people at rotation, but it was also, like I said, some hilarious comedy type shit. Like, I remember right there in his first couple months, we were going up to, I can't remember if it was Danger or Dagger, is one of the two in to Crete.
Dagger sounds familiar.
Well, they were both old sedan palaces that were fobs.
Oh, there is a Danger and a Dagger.
Yeah,
Okay, these are both FOBs,
yeah.
forward operating bases.
And I just remember, would it, we call them Mad Maxes. I've heard guard guys call them hillbilly armor Humvees. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
The
yeah, with
old soft skin where they welded shit all over it. I just
yeah,
remember I was going up to do my monthly draw for uh, I forget what it's for, but food money. You know, where you can just spend cash on the local economy and supply your company and the Iraqis and stuff.
yes. Hmm.
But I'm in the second truck of the convoy, and it's a Mad Max. I'm on a 240, and my fire support NCO, Sergeant Bryant, amazing dude. Um, tactical is all get out, knowledgeable, just amazing. But I remember a yellow Volkswagen Golf passes us, and he's like, "That's that son of a." His 2 days ago when we had an IED go off on the convoy we were in. I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, and he's calling back. He's like, "We're gonna get him." So, he's in a brand new up armored
11-14.
turbocharged. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that thing's hauling ass, and he's going to catch him. He's going to get the the guy. But there's this traffic circle that we had to go through and then hang a left out of and go about 500 meters over the bridge in the creek. And that's where we end up catching this guy. But we're chasing him for like about 3 miles. And that up armor's rocking it. I feel like I'm in the space shuttle re-entering Earth in this 998 Mad
Just
Max.
shaking like the thing's
Yeah.
gonna fall apart.
Oh, yeah. But Bryant whips around and blocks his truck from the front. We scream up behind it. I'm on the 240. I've got it covered. And Bryant's jumping out and, he's advancing on it, rifle up. The driver jumps out. I'm like, what's a kid doing jumping or driving? And then you see Bryant just drop his weapon and turn around and start walking back to the Humvee. It's like, and I'm still trying to process this. He comes over and he's like, never mind, it's a midget.
What? You guys are chasing a midget across
Midget.
freaking.
Iraq. He's like, the guy
So
that hit us was a real size guy. I'm like,
he was a real size guy. That's what he
yeah.
said. Oh my God.
But like I said, it's hilarious stuff like that you want to remember. And like I said, we're going to one of the two to do draw, I think are $20,000 for the month.
Yeah.
And I remember my little sick pleasure of messing with these guys was, I'd have my cash in a Ziploc bag with all my receipts, and they always say, don't come in here bringing all your ammo and grenades and shit. But I have it in my assault pack, and I go in there and sit down with the guy, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get out of my assault pack, and I put a frag grenade up on his desk or a smoke grenade. And, he's just pissed off and flipping out, and it's like, okay, here's my receipts and everything. That was kind of my little sick pleasure because he's like, well, I know you're here at 11:15, but our office hours stop at 11:30 for lunch. And it's like, dude, are you kidding me?
We're in Iraq, man.
Yeah.
There's no lunch break. What are you talking about?
But it's like those guys like that you would have to draw a strip map to the front gate. That
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
irritated me.
Yeah, I know. That's when we started calling those people fobbits,
Yeah,
the people that deployed to Iraq but never, ever, ever left a fob.
yeah. But man, and it's kind of crazy. Like when you go to those other bigger fobs and you see how different stuff is.
Yeah.
Um, there's another time we're at Danger, and I was like, man, I'm finally gonna get some real food. First time in about 3 weeks. This is gonna be good. And I was gunning the truck that our first sergeant Corbett was in. But we hit the chow hall after we do our thing, and scarf down the food, and I got my bowl of fresh fruit, man. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be so good. And I popped the first piece of fruit in my mouth, and all of a sudden you hear, boom, boom, boom. Look at first sergeant, I'm like, okay, those are 60s. They're not that close.
Let's keep eating.
But then, like, some random sergeant major that was in there just starts yelling, get out, screaming, get to the bunkers. And then
No.
first sergeant are like, it rolled under the table, and I'd reached up, grabbed my fruit,
I know exactly what you mean, bro. Eat.
and I'm like, we're like, what the hell is going on? So we go out to our Humvees, and I jump up on the LRAS, and I start scanning across the river, seeing if I can see any maybe point of origin, because 60s don't got that big of a
No,
range.
they're gonna be pretty close.
Yeah, and you know don't see anything, and we kind of make the decision like, okay, screw this. They're being really, really stupid because there's people running all over the place. But we later found out it was, you remember how like bigger fobs would do dumb stuff like they put the T walls around the chow hall, and
Yes.
they
Yeah.
put a funnel in there for you to go in.
Yes. Yep.
One of the 60s actually had gotten landed perfectly between the T walls and that corral, and um, this dude has wife in front of him. They're both soldiers, and basically, one of the mortars had hit her and killed her right in front of him.
That is wild because we had almost exactly the same thing happen at Fob Falcon. That's where I was.
Yeah,
And like a week before the incident I'm about to describe, they did the same thing. They put T walls, which, if people don't know, T walls are these big, what would you say, 15-foot
yeah,
tall
concrete
concrete
barriers.
concrete barriers. They put them all the way around the chow hall. So if a mortar or a rocket hit outside the chow hall, the shrapnel would hit the wall and not go into the chow hall. But then they also made a corridor of T walls that you had to stand in line in to get into the chow hall. And we had the same thing. We had a rocket come in, hit right inside that canal of T walls when there was a line of people standing there. And it was the same thing. It was a guy and I think it was his wife, but they were both killed.
Yeah.
And one other was killed as well. And then a lot of people were wounded because that rocket just came in and just bah. And, those T walls in that case, they didn't protect anything. They created a funnel of death, is what they created.
Oh
And
yeah.
it was awful. It was awful. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the problems with being on a big fob like that. You didn't really have downtime because they were hitting it all the time with rockets and mortars. And they would even take pot shots with RPGs outside the gate and just fire them indirect into the fob. And I had as many close calls on the fob as I did off. You know?
See, that's the benefit of being on a tiny fob.
Yeah,
They can never hit the fob. It's like all around it.
yeah.
you
I'm not
know.
saying they were. I'm not saying they were accurate because they weren't. But and they got lucky with that rocket. There's no way they had that dialed in. If they did, then I guess kudos to them. But I think it was just a lucky shot.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah, a lot of indirect fire and IEDs. So Anything else from that tour that stands out to you that you want to talk about?
Well, it's like I said, it, we're talking about like when guys would get hurt, we would empty the fobs. Like us in Fob McKenzie, which was the rest of our battalion, about 20 something clicks away. If somebody got killed, everybody's out. And, it wasn't a vigilante type thing. It was all right, we're going to figure out what's going on and we're going to put the fear of God in these people. And, that happened when Lieutenant Fosnot got killed. That happened when 1-3 got tagged, when Captain Cahill got killed, Sergeant Cash. Dude, we emptied our Fob Wilson and then we're heading toward McKenzie. And, initially, Sergeant Cash received a Silver Star, upgraded to the Medal of Honor. His Bradley got hit with a V-bed.
A
And,
VBID is a car bomb.
yeah, he was on fire, gets out of the Bradley, goes back 5 or 6 times, I can't remember, and is pulling dismounts out in his crew. And he's catching fire again every time. 3 weeks later, he ends up passing.
No kidding.
But, go figure, Able Company 115, that's Audie Murphy's old company.
Wow.
Long lineage there, you know what I mean?
That is so awful, man. I mean, heroic, but so sad.
Yeah, it is a long fight to get his stuff upgraded, if you will.
Yeah,
But
I'm glad they were able to do that.
and
I don't know what else qualifies for a Medal of Honor than selflessly sacrificing your own safety to save the lives of others, and then end it, and then paying the ultimate price for that.
yeah,
I mean, what else? What other criteria do you need?
I don't know. I don't know. It seems the common Marine thing is jump on a grenade, but
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, I think I heard somewhere that the majority of Medal of Honor recipients were people that dove on a grenade to keep
yeah.
everybody else from getting hurt.
And it's kind of funny in our here in our museum, the Marines I can think of, except for one, it's all they dove on a grenade to protect other people. Ironically, one of them lived and is crazy, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that offline. Um,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
but like I said, that was just a crazy deployment, and a lot of great dudes, though. Like I said, First Sergeant Corbett, we lost him about halfway through the tour, and had my buddy. I don't know if you remember from last time talking about Morrow. Uh,
Yeah.
he ended up being our first sergeant.
Okay.
And once again, Everett Morrow, amazing leader. But First Sergeant Corbett went to Asymmetric Warfare Group. He was recruited by them. Then, like third platoon, their platoon Sergeant Dingle. I'll tell you that crazy story here in a second.
Okay. Lost you for a second. Got you back. All right.
All right, no
Continue where.
worries. Like I said, third platoon, you had Sergeant Dingle, old Eddie Dingle, great dude, amazing, real good platoon sergeant. just all around technical, tactical, administrative, leadership, well-rounded platoon sergeant, man. Like, amazing dude to work with. They also had my boy talked about the last time, Sergeant Thompson, Mitch Thompson. Same thing, amazing tank commander. Um, but those are the type of dudes I'm able to work with, and a lot of good junior leadership in this company. Had some of our issues. That guy that I told you about that bumped Weiss out of his platoon sergeant slot, he ended up going or getting bumped out of the slot for a E7 we had come in right there at the beginning of our rotation.
Okay.
And he somehow weaseled his way onto that first group of block leave guys and doesn't come back.
Really? He went home on leave and never came back.
Yeah.
How? What did he end up doing?
It I don't remember exactly, but it was one of those kind of hardship things that got
Oh,
pulled.
okay. He went, okay. Yeah, I won't dig into it. He
Yeah.
found a way out. He found a way out of going back.
Yeah. Which, you kind of, I hate to say it, I kind of expected something like that from that guy.
Yeah.
Um, but like I said, I think later on that tank ended up getting taken by my commander's gunner, Sergeant Sullivan, who was E5. Freaking, once again, amazing dude. He had actually been a branch transfer, but he was on it. And then my XO's gunner, I think, Sergeant Wilcox, Aaron Wilcox, that's another dude. If you can get him to jump on here, amazing dude.
I think I know about him also. His
Um,
name sounds familiar.
well, Brian Haight, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Now he's Sergeant Major Haight. Like, I forget, he's like Armor School Maneuver Center Sergeant Major or something.
Okay.
My golf, we all called him Bam Bam. But he was his tank commander during the invasion. Ended up coming to us. Just an amazing guy, and he's had some journeys with the PTSD and everything else.
Okay.
And like I said, some amazing kids in that platoon and company. But we're talking about the PTSD part of it. It's some of the decisions that you make and you fight for come back and haunt you. Like I said, we had some amazing kids in that platoon, and one of them, Jason Hicks. I was like, this kid needs to be a gunner, and I'm fighting for him to become a gunner. And I finally, that's one of the things I was able to do right before I left Benning is he's gonna get moved up to a gunner slot. Um, Ends up gunning for my buddy Frank Tanner, who once again another great dude. They get hit in OIF 7, and Frank's the only survivor, and he's messed up with bad TBI right now. Still,
Oh, really? Wow.
it's
I,
like, would he still be around if I hadn't have been like, this kid needs a gun?
yeah, don't do that, man. Don't do that. The woulda, coulda, shouldas, man.
Yeah,
They keep they keep you up for a long time. I mean, I did that with this guy. I had a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas around him, around his death, and it took a long time and a lot of therapy to kind of finally put that to rest and realize that it's not my fault what happened that day, and it's not your fault for getting this guy into a position that he deserves. You know,
yeah,
if not you, any one of his leaders would have recognized his potential and you know pushed him to do a position of higher responsibility.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I
But
know that's tough, man. That I don't know if that runs in line with survivor's guilt, but I don't know. It's hard, but we have to make these decisions. We have to elevate people to higher positions so they can get promoted. I
oh
mean,
yeah,
that's what we do. We find talent and we build that talent. That's what we do. So
and he had so much. He would have been that with the right leadership guiding him. He would have been a great leader, and you recognize that, and you
yeah,
see that in all the kids. Like like Billy Fowler. He's in my golf now. Chris Denman. You know, all these kids that I had. Tony Shaw. You know, they were buck privates when I knew them back then. But you kind of watch your career come up. Freaking old Nicodemus Seaboy. You know,
yeah.
great kids that evolve into great leaders.
I know. I mean, just a few episodes ago when I met back up again with Mendoza, who used to be one of my privates, I am so impressed with how well that guy has progressed in his military career. I know what you mean. You love to look back and see guys that were your kids at some point. You know, that's what we
Yeah.
call them. They're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, but they're still our kids, you know, and you watch them progress and do great things in the military, and it's awesome. It's, you know,
Yeah.
that's, but yeah, unfortunately, sometimes you find out awful things that happen to them as well,
Oh yeah.
you know.
Well, I was gonna say let's break the levy a little bit, and I'll tell you kind of a hilarious. At least I think it's funny. Uh,
Okay.
so do you remember, or did Third ACR do that crazy thing with halfway through? They're like, "Oh, you gotta do a mock gunnery or do a
Oh,
validation."
they talked about it and we're like, no, we're not doing that. That's stupid.
So, we got attached under 42nd ID. Our brigade did,
Okay.
and
Is that is that a National Guard division?
yes, it is.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember Dave Biscaro.
Yes, I do.
Freaking Dave was a division of my golf, and
Okay.
I loved messing with Dave because
I liked him. He's a great dude.
he's a great dude. But every time I would have to call him on the radio or the phone, I'd be like, "Hey, what's up, Rainbow My Golf?" He's like, "It's
Oh,
literally my golf."
they had the rainbow patch. That's
Yep.
42nd. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah. Oh my God. I can imagine wearing that patch nowadays.
But he used to give me so much stuff when he come to the schoolhouse and like validate what he was teaching the guard for pre-gun. He'd be like,
Yeah.
"Don't start with me." I'm like, "Come on, man."
Rainbow my golf. They call him
But
the LGBTQ patch.
yeah, but he was a great dude, and I remember them trying to tell us, "You got to take your third ID patch off so we can put the 42nd ID patch on for your combat patch." I'm like, "No,
No
this
way.
ain't coming off."
No. No.
I'm like,
Yeah.
"I earned this
With
one."
yeah, with third ACR, we had three different higher headquarters in Iraq. I think it was I don't remember who they all were. 10th Mountain was one, 4th ID was one, and they're like, you can wear any one of their combat patches. I'm like, I'm wearing third ACR. That's who I went with. I didn't go with First Mountain or 10th Mountain. You know.
So it's like with us, we started off under 42nd ID. Then when they redeployed, we fell under 101st. And it's just a crazy menagerie of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but I remember when that came down, I'm calling Biscaro up. I'm like, "Dude, are you effing kidding me?" He's like, "I know, brother." He's like, "I fought it. I can't. You know, you got to do something." I'm like, "Well, what are you going to do? Send me some target lifters? What?"
And training ammo.
Yeah. Well, they did send us training ammo, but we ended up having to use old Connax set up outside of Fob McKenzie.
You guys actually shot a gunnery in Iraq?
a pseudo gunnery. Everything was from a defensive, and it was, a check the block thing. And,
What a joke.
it was literally, I'm spray painting PC and tank silhouettes on the side of Connex and numbering them.
Oh
And I'm
my
like,
God.
these are what you're engaging on these engagements. And it's
So it's
not
basically
with that.
a fam fire. That's
Yeah.
all it is. Yeah.
But, and every time we would have to go from Wilson to McKenzie on, there's a route we have to peel off on to get to the airfield that was McKenzie, and it's called Route Grape. And we would get tagged on Route Grape every goddamn time, either going or coming back.
By IEDs.
Yeah, it was.
So you're
Go ahead. Sorry.
so you're going to go shoot this quote unquote gunnery, and the route is an IED route to get there.
Yeah,
So you're endangering people just to go shoot a freaking gunnery.
yeah. And like I
That
said,
that's that sums up the Army right there.
I raised hell with Dave about it. He's like, man, I fought it. I fought it for about a month, and they're not budging. He's like, make up some shit, do whatever. He's like, I don't care, just get the block checked. And I'm like, all right, we'll get it done. But I remember on one of our times coming back, I had Sergeant Dingle in the truck with me. And they blew one right in front of the Humvee. And we're stopping, we're calling in, calling up our report, getting a pink team overhead, which, that's Apache and Aquila. And I remember Thompson jumping off the tank and running up, checking on us. And, we all have a little bit of a concussion. That's about it. And we're outside the truck. And I kind of look back at Sergeant Dingle, and he is ghost white. And it's like, dude, are you okay? And like I said, real dark skinned black dude, but he's ghost white. I'm like, D, you good, bro? Thompson's like, Sergeant D, you all right? And he just looks at us. He's like, these motherfuckers just tried to kill me. I'm like sitting there thinking to myself, and then Thompson, I know he's like, yeah, that's kind of their thing.
That's what they do. That's kind of their thing.
Because that was the first time he'd been hit. Like, he'd never been on patrol with his platoon where they got hit. It was always Thompson being the lead when the third platoon got hit.
That was his crucible of fire right there, huh?
Yeah, but he ended up walking up on the canal, and he just unloaded a mag into the canal, and he was all right after that. It's like, all right, cool.
He felt like he got his, huh?
Yeah, but I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, did is he really in shock? And then Thompson's just like, that can't be their thing.
That's hilarious. That my very first IED, good God, looking back, we were so freaking lucky. The truck in front of us got hit by it, and it's nighttime, and we were heading out. Dude, we were literally on a mission to deliver to our scouts a Humvee tire and a case of Gatorade.
Oh
Or
man,
no, Rippets, my bad, Rippets. And so, Rippets are freaking important, man.
yeah,
If you don't, if you know, you know. Rippets are like not Monsters of Red Bull, basically. That was the Army version of it.
it's like the Wish.com Red Bull.
Yeah. So we're in Humvees. The first truck, man, just boom, and we have dirt coming down inside the gunner's hatch and everything, and it looked like a giant firework went off, and it was like, oh, that's all it is. Oh, that ain't bad. And we're like throwing fists inside the truck. We're like, yeah, man, we got our first contact. Woo! We're all fired up about it. come to find out, the only thing that actually detonated was the primer on. It was a U.S. Air Force 250-pound
Oh
bomb
man.
that we had dropped and didn't detonate, and then they used it as an IED with a primer on it, with the hopes that the primer was going to blow the
Right.
freaking bomb up, which does work. And but this night it didn't, and so only the only thing that went off was a primer. And we, the next day went back and dug it up, and it was like, oh shit, man, it's a 250-pound bomb, man. It would have dusted. That
Oh
Humvee
yeah.
would have been annihilated, and it would have been a totally different freaking war story if they had effectively detonated that bomb. It would have been awful. But and here we are, like laughing and joking and throwing fists and calling up, "Hey man, you good?" He's like, "Yeah, he's good. His bell's rung a little bit, but he's good." And we're like, "All right, let's keep going." And it was fun. We thought, "Oh yeah, this is war, dude. We're freaking warriors."
Yeah.
No.
But and that's what, like, especially like the VA doesn't understand. Back then, there wasn't no such thing as effing TBI.
No. If
You
he,
got a concussion. You went behind the tank or the truck. You puked,
yeah,
grabbed some Motrin, and you rolled on.
yeah.
And it's like, wasn't until later they're like, well, why didn't you get documented? No, because it was happening every freaking week. And it's like, what do you mean? It's like, oh, you got hit. Okay, here's some Motrin. Rock on.
Yeah, there are tests that they can do now. I had one done in Princeton, New Jersey, because I had been around so many damn explosions, and I was convinced that I was experiencing severe short-term memory loss.
Yeah.
I was I was in college at the time. It was in my last year in the Army. I was finishing up a bachelor's degree, and man, it was so bad that when I was writing reports, I would have to read the information, then immediately start typing because I could not. I would dump it almost
Yeah.
immediately. That whatever I read would just be out of my mind. I could not retain anything. And I was like, it has to be from TBIs. It has to be. And I went to Princeton, did like a 2 or 3 day battery of tests. I mean, everything from an IQ test all the way to just like hand-eye coordination reaction tests, just all this stuff. And, at the end of it, they made their recommendation and I executed what they recommended to do and I started getting better. Um, but it was a combination of things that they found. But one of the major things, believe it or not, I thought it was TBIs. They said it was PTSD that was causing my short-term memory loss.
Oh, wow.
More than anything else, PTSD was doing it. And I was like, no shit. I didn't believe them. Whatever. How's that a thing? But it has something to do with the PTSD. It like stores information in different areas
Yeah.
because your brain is just so jacked up from seeing and witnessing and just experiencing different things
Well, now I
that's what.
understand that, like, people don't understand too. Like, everyone sees PTSD with the fight. Everyone sees the flight stuff as,
Yeah,
but it's not the fight. And, they don't understand that your brain actually rewires itself.
yeah,
And it's crazy. But I was going to say, also, let me kind of rewind to the beginning of this tour. Like I said, I was the Iraqi Security Force ISF liaison.
right.
And I remember going in with the core cabin, meeting our Iraqi counterparts. And I remember Sergeant Saif, he is their first platoon sergeant. He had been on the Iraqi Olympic powerlifting team, which I didn't know was a thing.
Okay.
But he was like a big jack dude, right? And I'm a smaller cat, and he's kind of making fun of me. He's like, what's going on with this? And I'm like, all right, me and you out front. Hold on, you and 5 of your best dudes out front. We're gonna throw it down, and see who's the baddest here. And I start
No, you
walking
didn't.
out, and he's like, huh? And he's asking the interpreter, "Is he serious?" He's like, "He looks like it." He never came out front, but it was like after that, I got to have a great working relationship with him. My third platoon sergeant Cassim, uh, and another kid, Sergeant Abdullah, um, looked like a cross between Beaker from the Muppets and Sloth from Goonies.
Poor kid.
I mean, he had been flash burned by a 500-pound bomb during Desert Storm as a kid. So this kid couldn't sweat.
What?
Yeah.
How would he survive in Iraq?
Drinking lots of water.
Holy crap, man.
But his only goal in life, he wanted to immigrate to Canada
Really?
because Canada is cold.
Wow. Did he ever get that?
I don't know. And I was talking to, mentioned him earlier, Sergeant Seaboy. He was able to keep up with some of these dudes, and everybody talks about we need to get out of Iraq, we need to get out of Afghanistan. Well, come to find out, Abdullah dropped off the radar, and then in the ISIS push after 14, after we pulled out, Qasem was killed, and then ISIS had captured Saif and beheaded him.
Oh, no.
But I still worry about Abdullah, some of my interpreters, what happened to these guys. But there's no
Yeah.
real way to find out.
Yeah. We tried so hard to get so many of them back to the States, um, because they really were good people. The interpreters, we had some not so good ones, but we
Yeah,
had some that I'm convinced one of them was a fucking insurgent. Um, this guy he was bad news, but we had some good ones, and it was like our goal was to get them into the U.S.
yeah.
Because they're really helping us, and they were really putting their lives and their families' lives in danger by helping us. You know,
But like I
some good.
said, you spend all this time trying to train, get these guys up to snuff, and we kind of left them
Yeah,
out there flapping.
I know. And we expect them to stand on their own when we leave country, and we see ISIS almost took the entire damn country of Iraq after we left.
Oh yeah,
And then you look at what happened in Afghanistan with the Taliban. I mean, I think that was a different. You can tell me you spent more time working with Afghans than I did. You can tell me your thoughts on this, but I can remember thinking just the Afghans that we were around that, if we leave, there's no way these guys are going to stand on their own.
oh
There's no way.
definitely.
Yeah. And it was like that was the bitter pill to swallow. We can sit here and say in the United States that we are training the Iraqi army to stand on its own so we can leave. We are training the Afghan army to stand on its own so we can leave. And they're doing great things. And that's what the news was saying is that, they're going to be okay. We're going to be all right. And it's like bullshit. Why don't you ask me? Why don't you ask Magee
Yeah,
if those guys are going to be all right on their own? Because they're not. They're not going to be, you know? I think
but
any soldier that spent any time over there would have told you straight to your face, there's no way these guys are going to be okay on their own. There's no way.
given time, they would have been.
How much
But
time though? How long do we have to stay in country to get these guys on their feet? An entire generation? That's what
yeah,
we did in Afghanistan, a whole generation, and it still didn't work.
well, it's I've got my own thoughts on Afghanistan, which we'll touch on in a bit when we get to that.
Well, let's go there now if you want to, man, because
Well, it's Afghanistan. That, like I said, totally different animal than Iraq.
yeah. And the crazy thing is, you and I were in Iraq together, and now you and I are in Afghanistan together.
Yeah, this
But
is
this
12 and 13, but
This is we're in the same unit, but we had vastly different experiences. Vastly different. So mine was pretty easy. Let's talk about yours.
Well, like I said, it was a crazy deployment, and that initially getting there, man. Once again, some phenomenal people to work with. First Sergeant Jeremy Hare, now Sergeant Major, freaking little nut job. I love that guy. He wanted to play infantryman more than be first sergeant, so he'd stick me with a lot of the first sergeant shit.
So he
But
could go on missions.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
but
love dudes like that.
I do until they stick me back, not being able to do my job.
Yeah, I know.
But
It's like, come in here and earn your pay, and you be the first sergeant. Let me be a platoon sergeant and go out with my guys.
yeah, but that's the other crazy thing. Afghanistan, after that first month, because we consolidated headquarters in MGS, and I was taking care of both. But then every attachment the company was getting it put in my platoon, and I ended up having like 60 something dudes in my platoon toward halfway through.
Wow.
And it's like, Jesus H Christ, we had well, what's a higher level, roll 3 or roll 1?
Oh, I always forget.
So do
As
I.
far as for like a medical hospital, I thought one was the highest,
Okay, so we had a
like the best level of care is what we're
yeah,
talking about.
we had a roll 1 or 3 on painkiller. And of course, I had our battalion PA. She is running that in the handful of mechs. So somehow they get stuck into my platoon. End up picking the cooks up. Everybody. It's like Jesus H Christ.
You're
And
basically a first sergeant.
yeah,
Wow.
but well, and that's the thing. I realized I never wanted to be a first sergeant because I had the company for a couple months before we got hair in. Um, and I say this: Fort Lewis is the worst unit I've ever been in.
Really?
Yeah.
Second Brigade 2ID?
Yes.
Okay.
And it may have just been 423, and everyone wanted to be Rangerific.
Yeah.
But like I
Yeah.
said, man, my fellow platoon sergeants were amazing. Freaking
You
first
did
sergeant
have
was amazing.
you had a good unit. And I want to just kind of talk about what that brigade was comprised of real quick. So we were 2nd Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division. We were a striker brigade. So you and I are both, we were tankers, and now we don't have tanks anymore. A striker brigade, if anybody wants to Google it, a striker is an eight-wheeled vehicle. And then we had, as tankers, we had the mobile gun system variant of the striker, which had a 105 millimeter gun mounted to a two-man turret that sat on top of a striker platform. Very accurate, very highly lethal system, but no armor protection at all. Versus, compared to a tank, really no armor protection. So, so that's what you're dealing with now. And instead of Humvees, you probably had Mat Vs, which were like, you know, did you guys have Mat Vs or what did you have?
So I had, like I said, I had the whole slew of strikers. End up with 6 Mat V's in the platoon, and had that weird Humvee X-ray system. Do you remember that? Or are we even supposed to talk about that?
I don't even remember what it was. What
It,
was it?
it's basically like when a vehicle drives through it, and it's like that TSA X-ray thing that will tell you if it has anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think you can talk about that. There's a lot
Okay.
of stuff back then that was like super secret squirrel that you and I had to be read on
Yeah,
about. But I don't know if that stuff's still secret or classified. It might be. Some of the stuff that we were talking about after the last podcast,
yeah.
we were up to like 4 in the morning running our mouths to each other that night.
But
Yeah,
like,
some of the stuff that we talked about, I think, is still secret, so we won't cover that. But I
yeah,
think what you're talking about, that's kind of common knowledge. They use shit like that down on the southern border.
oh yeah. But
Yeah.
I had one of those, and I think when I added it up, I was somewhere at just under $1 billion worth of equipment I signed for.
God. How many mobile gun systems did you have?
I had three.
3.
Yeah,
Okay. So you probably have the mortar team as well.
I
You've
had
got
the mortars, medics, fire support. Um, I ended up absorbing a MIT team. I forget what it stands for, but the local
Mhm.
trainers
Right.
end up with a FET team, female engagement tactical team, cooks. Then when we moved to Atoll, I picked up the battalion surgeon and that full complement at the roll 2 or 1 that was there. It is
Dude,
crazy.
you did. I didn't realize you had that many people under you there.
Yeah, and um, I ended up also being a de facto cop mayor because our E7 got fired that was doing that. He is
Yeah.
some dude at battalion. I'm not going to mention his name, but he ended up being kind of like our MWR guy.
Jeez. He must
But,
have done something really bad.
uh, he emailed some secret stuff on the Nipper line.
Oh, yeah. That happens in Afghanistan. Do you
Uh,
remember when people kept trying to charge their phone off of
oh God, yeah,
off military computers, and as soon as you plugged your freaking USB into it, they would get alerted, and you were going to get an Article 15, and you're probably going to lose some rank
oh yeah.
for trying to charge your. You cannot plug a USB into a military computer. You're going to get in trouble, big time.
Oh, that's funny. When we were leaving Afghanistan, I was sitting there looking at MNIE headquarters on Kandahar, and I'm like, had a thumb drive in my pocket. I'm like, man, I'm going to run in there and just start plugging stuff into people's computers just to stir some
Jesus.
shit up because it pissed me off so bad how stupid they were with that. You know?
They were very stupid. We had a kid that got busted down. He lost, man, they wanted to put him in jail. He printed a map, a secret map, he printed on a non-secret printer because he couldn't get the damn, what do they call it? Sipper? The
Yep.
Sipper net? The Sipper net was the secret net, and the Nipper, I think, was the unclassified net that we could
Yeah.
use. So we had two internets, and he printed. We had two printers, a secret printer and a Nipper printer, and he printed the damn secret map on the non-secret printer, and he got in a lot of freaking trouble for that. You
Yeah. But
know?
you're forgetting we also had Comtrex, which was the NATO semi-secret squirrel, not secret, but secret. You actually had
Ish.
three computers that you had to, you know, figure out which one you're freaking working on for stuff. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I hated that shit. It was so confusing. It's like, can we just make everything Zipper? Just make
yeah,
everything secret. Yeah,
but
that was a nightmare.
it was crazy. But like I said, man, it is a good company, man. You know, platoon
Talk
leader,
talk to me about. I know I don't. I'm going to do this to you. I don't. I
go
know
for it.
it's going to offend you. I'm sorry ahead of time. Talk to me. I cut you off. I didn't let you finish telling me a story because I wanted you to tell the story on here
Okay.
about. You mentioned a day that was like one of the worst days that you'd had, um, military wise, and it was dealing with casualties that were actually Afghan casualties.
Oh yeah.
Can you
Um,
talk about that?
that's toward the end of the deployment, and part of why I think the failure in Afghanistan was every effing week we're changing strategy.
Yeah.
But they had come out with that. Okay, you don't do anything for the Afghans, you don't support them, blah 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 blah. But I
I
just
may have
come off.
lost you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm going to pause it till you come back.
Oh,
Okay, we're resuming again. All right, go
all
ahead.
right. So, it's like every week they're changing strategy. It's like, what the hell? And we hit that stage of, okay, you don't give anything to Afghans, you don't do anything for them. And we had just rolled in after a patrol, and First Sergeant Hare had just popped out on running a combat logistics patrol clip. So I'm senior guy on the fob. And we get the call, hey, you've got inbound wounded. ANCOP just got torn the hell up. And it's a mass cal event, dude. Like, they have
What was it?
been.
What was ANCOP? Remind me, what was ANCOP?
Um, it's like their version of the commandos or some shit, if I remember right.
That's right. Okay.
Um, but, they're rolling on, and it's like 12 wounded, 8 of them serious. Like, if they don't get evac in the next half hour, 45 minutes, they're dead. Like, we have double, triple amputees, freaking guys just torn the hell up. And, sprinting over the medic area, Doc Matlock guy, this dude was amazing. He was our battalion surgeon, Captain Matlock. He's getting all the medics spun up. He's getting everything ready to start treating dudes. I can't remember the staff sergeant's name he had, but he's out there running triage, directing traffic. My medic sergeant Methner, freaking that nut job. This is one of those times where you can see a guy that's all jokes and fun and games, but game time comes, the switch is on.
Yeah.
And then I've got my 2 tank commanders, Sergeant Abel, Sergeant Cullen. They're running around. They're grabbing everyone who's CLS, combat lifesaver. Went to paramedic EMT training before we deployed. Everybody's flooding, that medic station because we're going to need everybody. I'm working my 9 lineup, and, I've got 8 litter urgent. Like, they have to get gone now. And I call battalion, and I'm not going to mention the little punk motherfucker's name, but E5 answers and gives me that just answer. We don't evac Afghanis, it's on them. I'm like, I've got 12 wounded, and 8 guys about to die here on me. What the fuck do you mean? And he hangs up on me.
Oh no.
And, like I said, I'm still full gear. The only thing I'm not wearing is my freaking helmet right now. M4's banging me in the side of the leg, and I'm getting pissed. I call back, and, he's still being a smartass. And I tell him, I don't care what the fuck you got to do, you got to work it. And I slam the phone down, and, I kind of look up, man. Freaking Sergeant Abel's driver, Kotang, nurse before he joined the Army. Amazing kid. He's over there doing stuff on one kid. Gav and Con. Gav Hosel doing their thing. Infantry dudes out there, medics. They've got the squeezy bubble respirator things on, dudes. They're tourniqueting, dudes. They're bandaging. They're doing everything they can. Doc Matlock's calling out
When they
like times.
when they showed up, had they already been had tourniquets in place or no?
I don't remember, man. It
Okay.
was crazy. You know how it is. You're getting back, and I call priorities of work. I'm like, horse, saddle, soldier. You take care of your vehicles, and then it's like all of a sudden, hey, change of mission. We've got inbound, and we're dropping everything.
Yeah.
But as soon as I slammed that phone down, the phone rang again, and it's Lieutenant Antos. I don't know if you remember him. He's
Yeah, I do.
had been Bravo Company's MGS platoon leader,
Yep.
and I'm pissed. And he's like, "My golf, calm down." And that kind of switched something in me. He's like, "Look, I know what the policy is. We're in touch with brigade. We're working it. Just do your best." And I don't know, it just being there kind of like a caged animal, man. It's
Yeah. Feeling powerless.
you are powerless, and you've got 8 dudes, and your battalion surgeon saying, "Hey, I need a bird in the next 15 minutes, or we're going to lose them." The medic staff sergeant's like, "I've got 20 minutes on this guy. We need stuff now." And I don't know, man. It's like you said, powerless.
Yeah.
But I finally, the battle captain calls me, who is Captain Morgan Southern or Sullivan.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to be confused with my commander from OF3, but he had been our XO. Amazing, really competent dude. And he's like, "Birds are on the way, man. Get them out there
Awesome.
to the LZ." And just the efficiency that those dudes were able to get those casualties wrapped up, prepped for flight, and get those birds coming in was, I don't remember much of the prep, but I do remember being out there. Sergeant Sutton, that was his name, the E6 medic. But, we had the worst dude who was going to be last to get loaded, but sitting here trying to hold the blanket over this dude as the birds are coming into the LZ. And, he sprints out, talks to the flight medic, explains the priority of load, sprints back, and then all of a sudden it's like, dude, just running and loading these 2 Blackhawks. And it was just crazy, but, you know, dealing with those other individuals that are like, well, you can't do, it's like, F you, man.
Yeah.
There's doing the right thing, and then there's, following strict policy.
Yeah, I know. And it's the most frustrating thing about situations like that is when you're on the radio with somebody who is not in an emergency situation. They are sitting probably in the air conditioning. They probably have a cup of coffee. They probably had 8 hours of sleep last night, and they're on the other end of the radio, and they don't have the same sense of urgency that you do on the
Yeah.
ground, in the dust, in the blood, with 8 guys about to die. And they just can't put their mind in that freaking same position. And it's so fucking frustrating when you're dealing with people like that and you're in a mass cal event. That is awful, brother. Do you have any idea what the outcome was for those 8 Afghan soldiers?
I don't know. Um, we never heard. We heard they made it to Kandahar, and that was the last thing that we heard was they were still alive when they made it to Kandahar.
Wow. Wow.
But
Well,
like
you know as
said,
well as I do that by that time, 2012, 2013. Well, let me rephrase. In 2005, if you were a double, triple amputee, the chances of you surviving were very, very low. But by 2012 and 2013, triple, double, triple amputees were surviving at a much higher rate. So that they may have lived. You don't know. It's,
it's possible. I mean, we had a kid, Sergeant Grabanowski. His brother was in, I can't remember his Alpha or Bravo company, Apache or Blackhawk. His brother ended up being a triple amputee while we're there. And
wow.
he lived to this day. But if we fast forward back to kind of the beginning of Afghanistan, um, this is another shitty day.
Okay.
But there was supposed to be a shura, but
Ashura is like a council, the Afghan elders.
we watched that little village just south of PK, Pain Delay, just clear out the day before,
Okay.
and like it looked like a mass exodus, man. Like someone had just told them that a nuke was coming or something. And our company commander the next morning was like, "Well, we've got sure we're gonna go." It's like, are you fucking stupid? It's it wasn't just me and the first sergeant. It was the other platoon sergeants too were stepping up, going like, "This,
It's bad.
you're dumb." And I got to mention these dudes like Paul McCulley, man, freaking third platoon's platoon sergeant, little angry rock of a man, and always spoiling for a fight, but amazing leader. And he's like, "No, let's not do this." Sean Beecham, second platoon's platoon sergeant's like, "Dude, this ain't right." And same with first platoon, John Gregory. And I'm going to use a quote from a Medal of Honor recipient about John. He's one of the toughest, most decent human beings I know. John was like, "I have a bad feeling about this." But the commander's insistent, and they take third platoon and head down. And, you know, watching on the raid cam, it's like, okay, they've set up the triple stack classic IED marker stones even. And it's like, man, this is bad. And they get down there and it's like, this place is abandoned. And Sarmuli was clearing one of the calots, one of the buildings, got hit on a mine hound, but he stepped back, which is where the pressure plate was, lost a leg.
Yeah.
And one of my dudes, Sarn Nahorny, caught off shrapnel in the face. So we're getting the medevac in there, and the medevac doesn't want to land. Freaking McCauley's jumps in a striker and is just doing donuts, basically, with the mine roller going, "You think it's fucking clear now?
Yeah.
Land."
Land here. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's pissed. A little bit later, they bring out the Huskies. Freaking watch one of those get blown to shit. Luckily, the dude just gets out of it and shakes it off.
Jesus.
Those engineer dudes are crazy.
Yeah.
We lost our EOD head, Sergeant Israel Nuanis, staff sergeant. Freaking found the IED, went to disarm it, went to grapnel it, yanks it, doesn't detonate, thinks there's no secondary. When he gets up on it, kills him.
Jesus.
And just an all around bad day. And it happened to be Mother's fucking Day.
Really?
Because I remember this. Because our battalion commander and sergeant major show up, and our battalion commander wants me to hold up a Happy Mother's fucking Day sign for
Oh my
Facebook.
God. Stop it. After all this has happened,
Yeah.
please.
So,
That's the insanity of everything over there.
and it's crazy, man. Shit like that. And, getting an argument with, I told you about this, getting in an argument with that company commander about, he's like, "You're patrolling with your platoon too much." I'm
What am
like,
I what am I supposed to be doing?
I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But if you remember too, we're the only MGS platoon in the battalion that was operating independently.
Right.
I'd splice Colin or Abel off, which once again, two amazing. They're
They're,
both E5s at the time, but
yeah, they
freaking
were
rock
studs.
stars, man.
Yeah, they were good dudes.
Um, but we're patrolling from Azazula to the Helmand border, doing a screen to make sure no one's putting IEDs out. And it's like you're patrolling too much with your platoon, and your infantry platoons are going to go somewhere, and we found out that if you got a big gun with you, they're not going to mess with that infantry patrol. Well, we can't send your trucks out because if you get blown up, we all get relieved. It's like, yeah, well, I'd rather truck take some damage and freaking we lose an infantryman.
Yeah, 100%.
And all of us were like, let's roll. Let's do our job. And it was like the fear of getting relieved seemed to be crazy.
It was such a weird point in the war because it's like we knew we were going to leave. It was like the writing was on the wall, and people were so risk adverse, but at the same time we're fighting a war, and it's like what are we doing here? If we're not going to fight, or if we're going to take all these precautions, and people are still getting blown up, it's like what are we doing? It made no sense. That's the worst way to be in a war is when you know you're going to leave but you still got to execute these missions that you really
Yeah.
don't know. What's the fucking point? It's
Well, you remember saying, I can't remember if you said you were watching on the raid or the blimp,
the blimp.
but when we went back after Sean Beecham got hit, and we're second platoon was basically going to bait them, and we're going to come out with the MGSs and get a little payback.
Yeah, hunter killer team.
But it's of course what was the rule in RC South? You don't leave the road, right?
Yeah,
Well, second platoon had flanked around past an IV line where we couldn't see anything. And I was like, screw it. If I'm going to get relieved, I get relieved. And we started maneuvering across the open ground to get back into contact and support those dudes. And, I also remember, like I said, Joey talked about the vigilantism and having to use that smart thought process. The one guy calling in positions and everything else, we had direct line of sight to him, but he surrounded himself with the freaking kids. So it's like, you know,
you can't kill him.
yeah, 2-6 is like put a hep round into him. I'm like, I can't. It's I'm on the ICV because platoons aren't you're going to be medevacing, but Cole and Abel are both. I ain't got shots. And hilarious thing is like, Khan's like, I got him. Freaking, I think it's like an 800-meter shot, man. Freaking just tags this dude with a sniper rifle.
Oh, okay, nice.
I'm like, damn, man.
That's nice.
But it is a pain in the ass having so many people in the platoon, but it was amazing having all the assets.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. You have literally everybody at your fingertips. You've got
Yeah.
all the most important players, the most important enablers, in your platoon. That's awesome. Yeah, it was so frustrating because, my duty at the same time was the brigade battle NCO. And I don't know if it was the situation that you were just describing about, you got Blackhawks in the air that need to land to pick up casualties. But the ROE at the time was you did not land a Blackhawk to pick up casualties until you cleared the area to make sure there weren't IEDs. Um, and there was one, I don't know if it was this incident or not, but I can clearly remember I was talking to 423 Battalion, and they're telling me, dude, it's clear, land the Blackhawks. And I'm in the brigade talk, and I'm like talking to the medic who's talking to those birds, and I'm like, man, they're saying it's clear, and they're like, we got to hear it from there, and I'm like, no, it's clear, land the damn Blackhawks. And they did, and I remember thinking, I may have just sealed my own fate. I may have just caused myself to get in a lot of trouble here because the proper the proper channel that alerts them that they're okay to land that Blackhawk was circumvented by me because I'm like, no, land the goddamn things and let's get these guys out of there. And I completely skipped that whole chain of command to make that call, and they landed the Blackhawks and got the guys out. And thank God nothing happened to the helicopters, but I was worried the whole time. I was like, oh God, did I make the right call? And I'm watching the whole thing on the balloon. I'm watching the video and I'm watching the Blackhawks come in and I'm like cringing to make sure that, oh God, if the IED blows up underneath one of them and takes out a Blackhawk, I am fucked. And thank God none of that happened. But it was just like, I don't know. I kind of, even though I was in a air conditioned talk and I had a fresh coffee and I had 8 hours of sleep, I was still able to get my mind centered to where you guys were. And it's like, fuck this, man. Let's get them what they need now, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
but on the flip side, dude, we had some amazing Black Hawk pilots that didn't care.
yeah. It's not the
They,
pilots, it's their chain of command. It's like if we lose a Black Hawk, we're gonna get relieved. You know, it's that whole thing.
but like I said, we've also dealt with kind of like talking about those dumbass pilots where it's like it has to be clear or prove that it's clear. And I even had one guy coming in for a medevac on PK. He's landing on the cop. He's like, verify the LZ is clear. I'm like, it's in the cop.
Yeah.
Land.
Yeah. That's how stupid it was getting. But it was, I think the biggest casualty event we had in that tour was we had a Black Hawk flying some VIPs out to somewhere in your district, and we had some of our intel folks on that bird, and it landed, and there was like a big entourage there to greet them because there was. I don't remember if it was a Fulbright colonel or a 1 star, but it was a pretty high VIP that was with us. It was getting off that
Yeah.
Black Hawk. And this dude, who was a quote unquote Afghan uh, army guy, was completely decked out in a suicide vest and ran right up into them as they're dismounting the Blackhawk, took all of them out, killed them all, and killed. And I don't remember if it took out the Blackhawk, but it definitely grounded the Blackhawk at the
Yeah.
very least. And but that kind of shit was happening because the enemy that we were fighting in Afghanistan, they really had no fear of death, and
Oh no.
they would give their lives to take out as many Americans as they could. They It was a different animal in Afghanistan. Those guys were psycho.
Well, see, I remember, like I said, at that time I went off road down in Shaglame with Second Platoon. About 2 weeks later, the SEALs came in and got their shit pushed
Really,
in that same area. It was like, what the hell?
it was bad. That whole area was the birthplace of the Taliban. Kandahar, Jari district, Maiwan.
Yeah.
Um, that whole area was. I mean, that's where it all started in Afghanistan, and it was where they still were. You know, that's headquarters for the Taliban in that area.
Well, see, that's the thing about the Army. You get to go to all the nice tourist spots. Like I was outside of Saddam's hometown,
Yeah,
freaking birthplace of the Taliban.
yeah. There's some neat stuff there too, like that one giant hill. It might have been in 117's area,
No, that
Gundigar.
was in our area out there by Sakari Perez,
Yeah,
Alexander the Great Hill.
Alexander the Great had like a fort that was built up there, and that would have been like what? I don't know, 200 BC.
Yeah, dude, taking a striker up that thing is scary as hell.
I bet that thing is
Because
a massive, massive topographical feature. like right in the middle of the area, commands a
Yeah.
view of the entire area.
And we had a little outpost up there, and we had to resupply it once, and that's like going through the Chinese tunnel in Korea, man. It's like light a cigarette, and you're like, fuck, I hope it makes this all right.
Yeah, yeah, no shit. Hey, I've only got about a half hour left before I got to move on with things.
No worries.
Let's talk about post military service. Let's talk about, if you're comfortable with it, what you've dealt with as far as PTSD, depression, anxiety, anger, and what your fix has been for that. So, when did you start experiencing stuff? I know you mentioned earlier that Michael Cooley pulled you aside and said, "Hey, man, you need to talk to somebody. You need to get some help." Was that your first kind of toe in the door for treatment?
That was it. And believe it or not, a civilian provider up and has been one of my better people I've been able to therapists and stuff that I've been able to work with. Um, but then, like I said, TRICARE cut me off because they're like, okay, you've had 16 visits. You need to go to a military treatment facility. It's like, well, I'm not near one. Well, you've reached your limit for the year. It's like, are you kidding me? But, of course, then retire and trying to get into the VA healthcare system was a nightmare itself.
Okay.
Um, I was rated initially at 60%.
Okay.
And, of course, 50, you're eligible. Well, at the time, 30, but you have to pay a copay or something. But 50, everything's free. And I remember talking to the people at the VA, and they're like, well, I don't care what you're rated at. We'll tell you if you're eligible for health care with that bad attitude. And it's like, okay, F you, I'll just deal with this shit. And it kind of took COVID, going through a divorce, and going through a different VA region, but in the same state.
Okay.
And, as soon as I kind of went to Biloxi versus Jackson, it was like they were all about helping the veteran. And, got into the VA healthcare system. And I remember talking, I feel bad because, this dude should have never, I wish he would never retired. Dr. Lombardo. He asked that magic question of, have you ever thought of hurting yourself or others? I'm like, no one else, no more than anyone else who's done what I've done. And he stops. He just starts chuckling. He's like, I love that answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah.
But he also knew how to talk to a veteran, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
And I'll kind of get to this in a second, but, for example, when I accidentally grabbed the wrong pill bottle and took too much of my uh, trazodone, and he's like, when I finally called him up and told him what happened, he's like, okay, dumbass. I'm like, all right. He's like, we've learned our lesson. You're not suicidal. It's cool.
Yeah.
But when I started talking to the VA therapist, I went through about 3 of them before I got to the one I have now. Dr. K is amazing, but you're talking to a VA therapist, and it's like, well, let's talk about the traumatic event.
Hmm.
Which event? The traumatic event. I'm like, okay, which one do you want to talk about?
Hmm.
And they couldn't get it through their head. Or they'd be like, okay, so you're talking about Iraq, but I thought you were in Afghanistan. I was in both. And they couldn't wrap their head around it.
Yeah. They're school trained. As I dealt with the same thing. I've got a doctor now who is my therapist, psychologist. She's gone to the best schools. She is amazing. I've had her for a couple years now, but she, like all the other therapists I'd had before her, wanted to drill down on a specific event. And I'm
Yeah.
like, look, I understand that in your school books that they say that that's how you approach it, you know, trauma exposure, you go into a specific trauma, and it's like the whole effing thing was traumatic.
Yeah.
There's there's 12 different events that were individually on their own traumatic. Do you want to explore each one, or do we have like a blanket treatment
Yeah.
plan for the whole fucking thing? Because that's what needs to happen. And I really think, honestly, bro, because I've listened to her talk now compared to how she was talking 2 years ago, and they are kind of approaching it now as not a single event, but a trauma package,
Yeah.
basically.
Well,
You know?
and here's the funny thing, like Dr. K, when I first started talking to her, and she's like, okay, look, you're one of the few um, global war and terror vets I have. You know, I mainly deal with Vietnam guys.
Okay.
And she's a retired Army psychologist.
Okay.
And so she kind of understands the culture.
Okay.
But it's also kind of like you talked about the holistic approach. And she's the one that took the time to kind of explain everything to me. And I don't really feel like those other therapists understood like everything, or they just they felt like they're going off a checklist
Yes. That's
versus
ex-
a
that's
understanding
it.
the process.
That's exactly what it feels like. Yeah.
So, but it's like, okay, you pick one of these multiple events we've talked about, and we're going to take that from being a traumatic event to a memory. And once we do that, we're going to move on to the next one and do the same thing. We're going to talk about the anxiety that pops up out of nowhere. We're going to talk about the anger that pops up out of nowhere. We're going to talk about those techniques where you're out in the public that you can use to make it through it, you know. And, you know, it was, you know, kind of reminds me of Ross in processing students, you know, how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. You
Yeah.
know, we're going to take it step by step. And, you know, she was always, the PTSD never goes away.
Right.
You just learn how to manage
Manage.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, it's that reinforcing, that training, the talking about stuff. And, you know, I mentioned it in that first podcast of is it avoidance, or is it, like I said, you don't want to talk about the good old times that were really the bad old times,
Right.
you know, which is it? And I will say this too, it's, you know, my new wife, Carrie, amazing. You know, will call me on my bullshit when it's like the anxiety's hitting and there's too much crowds, and it's like, okay, calm down. You've got this. You know, it's supportive versus a what the fuck is wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, she teaches second grade, so it's maybe easy to keep on that same mental levels with me. So,
That's funny. Did you so, you know, I've known you for a long time and I obviously we've drank together before.
oh yeah,
Um did alcohol ever become a problem for you or was or no?
it has at times, but
Okay.
um, you know, right now it's I'm good with a beer or two, and that's it.
Okay. Okay, good.
And
That's a
I
yeah.
can look at, and I hate to say it, I kind of look at the kids, and I'm like, I can't set a bad example for
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Whatever it takes to keep you away from the poison. It,
them.
I knew the answer to that question, but I just wanted to ask because I've always been pretty impressed with the fact that because I understand what level of PTSD that you have. Um, And I was impressed that you never ever turned to the bottle as a coping mechanism the way a lot of us did, you know?
Yeah.
So kudos to you for that. Did they, so I know they gave you trazodone to help you with sleep, and you don't have to get into this if you don't want to, but were you ever given anything for anxiety or anything like that to kind of help tamp that down a little bit?
They wanted to, but I'm also scared to death of addiction, man. I don't know if you remember my neighbor at Knox, Crazy Carl. Um,
I remember you talking about him.
but dude, they had him on like 15 different meds, man. And
Uh,
I'm like, he, he'd either be zombied out, drunk, or some combination thereof. And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm not going to be that dude.
No, and I don't think, you know, old VA, that's how they treated everything was a handful of pills for every single thing that ails you. Um, I was able to find a balance that worked for me. Um, but I needed to. I did not, man. I was like you. I would drink like there's no tomorrow. But when I stopped drinking, I was like, I don't want to take pills. I don't want to poison my body, whatever.
Yeah.
But even in sobriety, I was still having a lot of symptoms. In fact, the symptoms got worse because I was no longer medicating with alcohol. So it actually got way worse for me. Um, and it got to the point where I just could not cope with the suicidal ideations all the freaking time anymore. And
Yeah.
I finally had to be like, can we try something, some kind of med to make this stop? Because I've never been suicidal in my life, but now I am daily.
Yeah.
And um, they put me on. We tried a couple of different things. It didn't really do anything or work. And then I finally landed on 50 milligrams of this. It's called Prestique.
Okay.
And they use it to treat anxiety, PTSD. It's like for a number of different things. And within a couple of months, man, I realized like my brain quieted down. I was still functional. I still am right now. Functional. I can still do things. I don't feel cloudy. It seems like it's the right medication for my DNA. You know,
Yeah.
and it has made the world of difference. And I'm not sitting here to advocating for everybody to go out and take pills, but uh, in my experience, it was kind of exactly what I needed, And so I take trazodone and I take that, and that's it, And it's changed so much for me, so
Yeah. But
much.
that's the other one too, is like some of the stuff you're not sure what it is. And my therapist kind of brought this up, like those times where I don't sleep, it's like, okay, is it exhaustion or is it depression? Or is it
Yeah,
that, you know, it's, everything's complex.
sure.
And like I said, there's some people at the VA that are amazing, but there's others that are just hot garbage.
You're right. Yeah.
So, you
So
know,
how are you overall today? I mean, I know when you've come down here and hung out, man, you seem like you're doing freaking great. How do you feel overall?
um, way better. Like I said, the therapy's helped. Family support has helped. And, granted, you have been able to catch me where I've just got time with Ashlyn, and but that's another one, is that crazy stress of all her cancer
Yeah,
flared everything right back up.
it
But
did.
using those coping mechanisms, and once again, family support, everything else, support from you, GMAC, love you, Gary. Freaking, that's another dude you got to have on, brother.
I know. You want to talk about somebody that doesn't like to talk about themselves? It's Gary McCarthy. He's he's a stoic son of a bitch, man. He's a great dude. He's an amazing dude, one of my best friends of all time. But he's one of those guys that he just he doesn't tell you. He keeps it all to himself,
Yeah.
you know?
But he's an amazing dude,
He
and
is.
that's the other crazy thing is, it to those that don't know us and kind of meet you, they're like, "Oh, you must be some sort of badass, or you're a hero." It's like, no, I'm an ordinary dude.
Yeah.
You know, I've been able to walk it with a bunch of legends.
Yeah.
You know, but
I think Don said it best when he said, I'm not a hero, but I sure as hell worked with a whole bunch of them."
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's awesome. That's a great statement. And it rings so true, you know?
it's fuck, man. I was kind of looking through Facebook, and I still want to do a little Facebook video telling people watch your podcast and actually reach out to you, because we know over 100 of the same people on Facebook that we're friends with.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So initially my plan was I really kind of wanted to focus on the Warren County, Ohio veteran community because I'm around about 80 of them. And I figured
Yeah,
I had plenty of guys to do a year and a half weekly podcast of just local guys and just and be a channel to help other people find help, you know,
yeah,
like you did, like I did. I was out there flapping for a couple of years after retirement and almost died. Um, and then finally got into the VA system. And my VA experience has been totally different than yours. It's been Cincinnati VA has been absolutely amazing. Everybody I've worked with inside that building has been incredible. And um, I feel like I've been taken care of. I really do. And the way I feel today, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of it, spiritually, all of it, the way I feel today compared to how I felt just a few years ago is night and day. I'm not the same person I was just a couple of years ago. And that's because I got help. And that's also because I got in with communities of veterans and sticking around, like Joey said, our own culture, not all the time, but we have to dip our toes back into the culture we understand because that is our tribe, that is our people,
yeah.
and I totally understand why people get out of the military and go sit at the VFW all damn day and drink beer and tell war stories. I totally understand that today. I totally get that. I
Well,
think it's something we need to do.
see, I finally found a good VFW where it's not the chest thumping crowd.
Mhm.
It's the guys that want to tell, as I talked about him last time. Miko Johnson used to say, "Sit around the VFW and tell war lies."
Yeah,
No, these are generally good dudes who did their thing.
yeah.
But I'm going to say this too: is you know, when you're going through your stuff, I was a little mad at first that you didn't reach out.
I didn't
But
reach out to I didn't reach out to anybody, brother.
that's another thing, is like some of the dudes at the VFW, especially the Vietnam guys, are like, look, don't fall in that same trap. We're great at giving dudes help. We suck at asking for help.
100%.
But
One.
let's rewind a little bit to Afghanistan. Mentioned John Gregory, man,
Mhm.
phenomenal dude. I think you've met John once or twice at
Yeah.
Lewis.
Yeah, I think so.
Um, he was being asked to do some stuff by the battalion level leadership that wasn't the most legal, like hand receipt cash over and shit like that, and big
Okay.
no.
Okay.
But he was holding the moral high ground, and I can't do that. And he was kind of suffering for it, and he'd be like, "Dude, what's going on?" Don't be afraid to like talk to those dudes. Seeing them, if you see them struggling, be like, "Hey, man, what's up?"
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know,
And
um,
and also what you just said, man, is we become afraid to ask for help, uh, and we've got to get past that
yeah,
individually. All of us do have got to. It doesn't make you weak. to say, hey, man, I'm freaking struggling. I am not doing all right.
Yeah.
It does not make you weak. In fact, it's kind of like you just said to me, you're pissed off that I never reached out. Um, and, if, God forbid, if I had done something, you'd have been like, that motherfucker never reached out. I would have been
Yeah.
here for him. And you're not the only one. And it's the same thing goes for you. You probably have 100, 200 people that would reach out to help you if you needed it at the drop of a
Yeah.
dime. And we all do. We all do. And we can't be afraid, man.
Yeah.
If nothing else, reach out anonymously to the VA or something and say, "Hey, man, I need some help." Because there is help out there, and the life that you have can be infinitely better than it is now if you just swallow your freaking pride and ego for a minute
Oh yeah.
and be humble
Definitely.
and just say, "Hey, man, I'm not doing well." Whether it's drinking, whether it's suicidal ideations, whether it's I don't want to leave the house, whatever it is, the help is there.
Yeah.
But I think community is very important to that. I think all of us, I isolated at the time, and that was one of my um, that was one of the biggest things that was like threatening
Oh yeah.
my
And I'm doing the
my
same
life.
thing.
Yeah. And isolation sometimes feels very comfortable and very safe, but it is not healthy for us. Human beings need people. We need to be
Yeah.
around people. you know maybe in small doses, but we still need to be around people. All
Oh
of
yeah.
us do. Even the people that think that they're the most introverted need to be around people. And it is what it is, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Dude, this has been fantastic. I'm glad we were able to get this and wrap you up. Obviously, I would have you on here again in a heartbeat. um there's just so much stuff we could talk about. We talked about the last time we could do an entire 2-3 hour podcast on Master Gunner Branch, which I think I do want to explore that. I kind of want to look down the road, maybe a month or two from now, and do like a Master Gunner episode. Man, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Um,
Me too. Once again, that's I don't know if we talked about last time on this or it was our conversation about the number of my golfs at tank master gunners. I'm not including the other.
yeah.
Um,
Nowadays, every branch has their own Master Gunner. The Camo Master Gunner. You know.
yeah, but we were the first 50 years ago. Started 1975, and we still have the highest standard.
Yeah.
But using those numbers, Jack, it had given me kind of extrapolating. It statistically, you're more likely to be a Navy SEAL than you are a tank master gunner.
That makes us kind of badass, man.
Well, it's you know
I remember
when you think about some of the stuff we do, and people don't realize it. Like, how much stuff did you do as a at branch that affected Big Army?
a lot, a lot.
Yeah, and people don't realize that. Like,
Yeah,
you have affected every tanker out there right now that is shot training impact
yeah,
and
yeah.
service impact.
Me, Severson, and Ositis. We were.
Yeah,
I think Severson went out and initially did the workup for the CCFs for the impact round, and then I and Ositis went out there and confirmed it, and that was great. I used to love that shit. Just going out there and shoot rounds all day long, and just God bless, man. Master Gunner was
yeah.
that was awesome.
That and then the FIPS. Hell, I think the ordnance school is still using those. The
Yeah.
fall isolation plugs.
Yeah, I remember we went through the airport at TSA. It's like, what the hell is this? They thought we were freaking bombers.
No, they're just wire harnesses.
Yeah, they're not as bad as they look. Jesus.
Oh,
Gary McCabe, man, he used to say, like, I think we were in Savannah, Georgia. It's like St. Patty's Day. We were partying and we're talking to these girls. And he's got his thick Australian accent, and we'd already told these ladies that he was Mel Gibson's cousin or something. And but he's like, he's like, we're tank master gunners. And they're like, what the hell is that? And he's like, it's Top Gun for tanks. I was like, yeah, dude, that's awesome. That's what it is.
Oh man, I miss Mac. Man, that dude was amazing.
Yeah, McCabe's awesome.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
except when he was trying to fight everybody. But
yeah. I wouldn't want to fight him. He's a scary
oh
dude,
no,
man.
he's a
Him and
badass.
Gary McCarthy was a scary dude too. He's
Oh yeah,
quiet, but he'd fuck you up. He would tear
hey,
you up.
Gary. There were very few people we worked with at Branch that you can't say were like amazing
Oh, they
people.
were the cream of the crop,
Yeah.
100%, 100%. Each one of them in their own right. You
Oh
know.
yeah.
All right, bro. I'm pushing 1:30 here, so
All
I
right.
gotta get off here. But I will get this dressed up. Should be out there tonight. Today is August 10th, so it'll be out here either tonight or tomorrow morning, depending on how
Yeah.
things go.
And
So
like I said, I'll play it. I'm not gonna watch it. I hate
watch
looking
it.
at
You need to
myself.
watch. You need to watch the first one too, man. That is a really good one, man. I'm telling you.
But
I,
like I said, people don't realize a lot of this is watered down. But it's I
yeah.
don't want to be like some of these guys. They're drinking their own Kool-Aid, if you will.
No,
Or
man. Every story you told has been from a place of humility. You're not grandstanding. You're not glorifying war. You're not trying to make yourself out to be something that you know you're not. Even though I think you are. I mean, I every story you've told, I hear hero in my mind. I mean, everything that you've done is heroic. Um, I know you would never ever say that about yourself, but I will. Um, I'm impressed. You've had a storied career in the military. You've done a lot of great things. You've affected a lot of people. Um, and you're still a legend amongst the tank community. Deservedly so, man. Deservedly so.
well, so are
So,
you, brother. But and you dealt with that John Lovett's wannabe platoon sergeant for a year or so.
who shall remain nameless? I am impressed that we have sat down here on recording and not mentioned his fucking name. We did that on purpose, though. We were
Yeah.
like, dude, whatever happens, we cannot talk about this guy. Oh shit, you know who he is.
Yes.
All right, brother. You have
All
a
right.
great day, man. And
You too.
yes, we'll be in touch, brother.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Later on.